Well, howdy there, Internet people. It's Belle again, and welcome to the Roads with Belle. Today is the roads to the Declaration of Independence. Everybody thinks they know why the colonists declared independence. Taxes, right? We've all seen the memes. The Declaration of Independence is a 1,300-word document. It's a giant list of reasons for declaring independence, 27 stated reasons. The word tax appears once, so that's just an oversimplification. That leaves us with the question, why did we declare independence? So, luckily, the Declaration of Independence is like a breakup letter from a nutty ex. It lists out everything. We're going to skip over all of the when in the course of human events stuff and get to the part where we're trash talking our ex. Some of it might not make sense because people think the Declaration came first, but fighting had been going on for a year before the document was signed. This is why we declared independence. He has refused his assent to laws, the most wholesome and necessary for the public good. So, the king wouldn't approve laws the colonists wanted. He has forbidden his governors to pass laws of immediate and pressing importance, unless suspended in their operation till his assent should be obtained. And when so suspended, he has utterly neglected to attend to them. So, he wouldn't let the colonies run themselves, and he had to approve everything. Micromanage much? He has refused to pass other laws for the accommodation of large districts of people, unless those people would relinquish the right of representation in the legislature, a right inestimable to them and formidable to tyrants only. So, he wouldn't just let the colonies set up new jurisdictions unless they gave up representation. He has called together legislative bodies at places unusual, uncomfortable, and distant from the depository of their public records, for the sole purpose of fatiguing them into compliance with his measures. I mean, that one is pretty self-explanatory. He has dissolved representative houses repeatedly for opposing with manly firmness his invasions on the rights of the people. So the king shut down the representatives who tried to oppose him. He has refused for a long time after such dissolutions to cause others to be elected, whereby the legislative powers, incapable of annihilation, have returned to the people at large for their exercise. The state remaining in the meantime exposed to all the dangers of invasion from without and convulsions within. So, after he shut down representation, he wouldn't reinstate them. All of this stuff so far is just part of being in a monarchy, but then we get into more specific complaints. He has endeavored to prevent the population of these states, for that purpose obstructing the laws for naturalization of foreigners, refusing to pass others to encourage their migrations hither, and raising the conditions of new appropriations of lands. The founders were mad the king was slowing immigration and stopping immigrants from becoming citizens. He has obstructed the administration of justice by refusing his assent to laws for establishing judiciary powers, and he has made judges dependent on his will alone for the tenure of their offices and the amount and payment of their salaries. The ruler interfered with the judiciary and tried to subjugate the judges, making them obey him. He has erected a multitude of new offices and sent hither swarms of officers to harass our people and eat out their substance. So, the king used a vast bureaucracy and his officers to harass people. He has kept among us in times of peace standing armies without the consent of our legislatures. The governors and legislatures didn't want soldiers on their streets, and the ruler did it anyway. He has affected to render the military independent of and superior to the civil power. He moved to use the military over civil governance. He has combined with others to subject us to a jurisdiction foreign to our Constitution and unacknowledged by our laws, giving his assent to their acts of pretended legislation. He made the colonists live under the influence of foreign rule. For quartering large bodies of armed troops among us. He made the people pay for upkeep of soldiers they didn't want around them to begin with. For protecting them by a mock trial from punishment for any murders which they should commit on the inhabitants of these states. The troops who acted as his goon squad were protected by him. It was like qualified immunity under the king. For cutting off our trade with all parts of the world. That's self-explanatory. The ruler interfered with world trade. For imposing taxes on us without our consent. There it is. There's the one rich people have convinced you the revolution was about. It wasn't even high on the list. For depriving us, in many cases, of the benefits of trial by jury. The ruler got rid of due process. For transporting us beyond seas to be tried for pretended offenses. The king shipped people overseas on made-up charges. For abolishing the free system of English laws in a neighboring province, establishing therein an arbitrary government, and enlarging its boundaries so as to render it at once an example and fit instrument for introducing the same absolute rule into these colonies. That was really about part of Canada and the concern that the king would use it as a precedent. For taking away our charters, abolishing our most valuable laws, and altering fundamentally the forms of our governments. The king removed the charter that gave them self-governance. For suspending our own legislatures and declaring themselves invested with power to legislate for us in all cases whatsoever. Again, for removing representation from the colonies. He has abdicated government here by declaring us out of his protection and waging war against us. Self-explanatory. The king declared war on us. Again, just a reminder, fighting had been going on for a year by the time this was signed. He has plundered our seas, ravaged our coasts, burnt our towns, and destroyed the lives of our people. At this point, they're talking about the behavior of the king's troops. He is at this time transporting large armies of foreign mercenaries to complete the works of death, desolation, and tyranny, already begun with circumstances of cruelty and perfidy scarcely paralleled in the most barbarous ages, and totally unworthy the head of a civilized nation. So the king brought in mercenaries against the colonists and turned the contractors loose on the streets. He has constrained our fellow citizens taken captive on the high seas to bear arms against their country, to become the executioners of their friends and brethren, or to fall themselves by their hands. This was about impressment. The British Navy was basically kidnapping Americans and forcing them to fight. He has excited domestic insurrections amongst us and has endeavored to bring on the inhabitants of our frontiers, the merciless Indian savages whose known rule of warfare is an undistinguished destruction of all ages, sexes, and conditions. Cringe, right? The ruler incited insurrection, and the colonists were upset about what they saw as the king not caring about the conflicts they were having with natives. In every stage of these oppressions, we have petitioned for redress in the most humble terms. Our repeated petitions have been answered only by repeated injury. A prince whose character is thus marked by every act which may define a tyrant is unfit to be the ruler of a free people. The king ignored the will of the people even when they petitioned. So, those are actually the reasons we celebrate July 4th. We broke away from a ruler who incited insurrection, interfered with the judiciary, deterred immigration, interfered with trade, turned soldiers and mercenaries loose on our streets, and got rid of due process. Oh, also taxes. So, there you go. A little more information, a little more context, and having the right information will make all the difference. Y'all have a good day.